Do you ever wonder how close we are to the brink of a nuclear war? Recent events have brought this question to the forefront of many people's minds. Reports have emerged that Russian Navy frigate was heading towards the United States. This, coupled with the news of a hypersonic missile launch, has raised concern about Russia's intentions, as the tensions continue to escalate between Russia and the United States. According to several sources, Vladimir Putin's Navy frigate, the Admiral Gorshkov, was recently seen heading towards the United States in what some are calling a show of strength. This frigate was just launched this month and was originally planned to travel through the Atlantic and Indian Oceans before continuing through the Mediterranean Sea to the Black Sea. However, reports from the Daily Mail claim that the frigate was detected diverting from its planned course and heading towards the U.S. before sailing south towards Bermuda. What is even more alarming is the news that the Russian warship conducted a hypersonic missile launch in the western Atlantic Ocean. This missile launches reportedly involved nuclear-capable Mach 9 Zircon missile that were launched at an enemy surface target located hundreds of miles off the U.S. coastline. Video footage released by the Russian Ministry of Defense showed the deadly weapon being fired over a distance of more than 560 miles. The commander of the Admiral Gorshkov, Captain Igor Krochmal, stated in the video that the electronic launch and the work by the shipborne combat team confirmed the missile system's design characteristics demonstrated during preliminary and state trials. This exercise raises concern about Russia's military capabilities and intentions, especially given the recent tensions between Russia and the United States. It is worth noting that this incident is not the first time Russia has conducted military exercises in close proximity to the U.S. In recent years, Russia has been increasing its military presence and activities in the Arctic region, where it shares borders with the United States, Canada, and other NATO allies. Additionally, Russia has been developing new weapon technology, such as hypersonic missiles, which could potentially give them a significant advantage in any future conflict. According to recent reports by Norwegian intelligence, Russia has indeed deployed nuclear missile carriers in the Arctic region, marking the first time the country has done since the fall of the Soviet Union. The vessels in question are owned by Russia's Northern Fleet, and during the Soviet era, it was commonplace for their warships to travel with nuclear weapons. The reports go on to note that while the modern Russian Federation has not previously deployed nuclear weapons in this manner, the Northern Fleet's submarines and surface ships still hold a significant portion of the country's nuclear arsenal. Norwegian intelligence considers tactical nuclear weapons to be a major threat in certain operational scenarios in which NATO countries could become involved. Russia's submarine capabilities, anti-satellite weapons, and cyber capabilities are also listed as potential threats to Norway and the alliance. The ongoing tensions between Russia and the West are expected to persist, making Russia the greatest nuclear threat to NATO and Norway. The report warns that it is possible for a localized conflict to escalate into a larger one involving the direct military intervention of Russia, the United States, NATO, and Norway. Despite plans to maintain, modernize, and develop its nuclear arsenal, the report does not anticipate any significant changes in Russia's nuclear doctrine in the near future. Ukraine's defense intelligence has also expressed concern about the potential use of tactical nuclear weapons by Russia against Ukraine. However, Karlo Budanov, Ukraine's spy chief, has stated that he does not believe Russia will launch a nuclear strike in the near future. The tensions between the United States and Russia have intensified, with Russia's suspension of its participation in the new START nuclear treaty, a key arm control agreement between the two countries. In response to this move, a Russian military journal called Vonaya Missile has suggested that Russia should develop a new military strategy using nuclear weapons. According to a report by Russian news agency, the military journal proposed that Russia could create a novel military strategy utilizing nuclear weapons to deter potential American aggression. The article argued that the U.S. had apparently prepared plans to strike and neutralize Russia due to concerns that the country may be losing its global dominance. Russian military experts are currently actively developing a promising form of strategic use of the Russian armed forces and operation of strategic deterrence forces. The article further suggests that Russia needs to be able to demonstrate to the U.S. that it cannot cripple their nuclear missile system and that a Russian retaliatory strike would be inevitable. The responsibility for the fact that the treaty has not entered into force for more than a quarter of a century of its existence lies, in fact, with the United States, which defiantly refused to ratify it and is showing an obvious inclination to resume testing. Ryabkov said at the Conference on Disarmament in Geneva, "If the United States nevertheless decides to take such a step and be the first to conduct nuclear tests, we will be forced to respond adequately. No one should have dangerous illusions that global strategic parity can be destroyed," he emphasized. Russian President Vladimir Putin had earlier made similar statements. While neither side has officially planned to conduct a nuclear test, the article in the Russian journal has shifted the focus to nuclear weapons and a hypothetical nuclear strike, which could further escalate tensions between the two bitter rivals. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the use of nuclear weapons has become a recurrent discussion, with the nuclear threat never entirely off the table. The situation has been further exacerbated by Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov's warning on March 1 that the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty is causing increasing concern due to U.S. actions. Ryabkov stated that Moscow would be forced adequately if the U.S. decides to conduct nuclear tests. The Pentagon is preparing to launch an immediate attack on at least 65% of Russia's strategic nuclear forces, with the remaining missiles intended to be neutralized by the global missile defense system. It goes on to state that the U.S. is considering delivering a nuclear strike powerful enough to annihilate the entire Russian Federation. However, the article notes that domestic military experts are actively developing a new strategy known as the operation of the strategic deterrence forces. This approach involves the utilization of advanced strategic offensive and defensive, nuclear and non-nuclear weapons, considering the latest military technologies. Russian political scientist and military expert Ivan Konovalov stated that the behavior of the United States is complicating the state of affairs in strategic nuclear security, and that the strategic missile forces are the ones responsible for countering such dangerous actions. Konovalov suggests that the issue must be approached comprehensively and urges the country to explore all possible options against the U.S. and its allies. It's important to note that President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly warned that Russia will defend its territory with all available means, including its nuclear weapons, if attacked. However, there hasn't been any clear definition of what would be considered an attack that could provoke such a response, leading to ambiguity on the matter. Following the recent events, NATO scrambled fighter jets to intercept 3 Russian military aircraft close to the Polish border. The Dutch F-35 and German Eurofighter Typhoon aircraft were deployed after several Russian planes were spotted near the Kaliningrad enclave, which borders Poland and Lithuania. The planes were later identified as a Russian Il-20M reconnaissance aircraft and 2 Su-27 flanker fighter aircraft, and were escorted from a distance by the Dutch F-35s, before being handed over to NATO partners. These incidents occurred amid mounting concerns that Russian President Vladimir Putin is preparing for a massive new offensive in Ukraine to coincide with the first year of the war. According to Ukrainian officials, Russia has been massing 1,800 tanks, 3,950 armored vehicles, 400 fighter jets, and 300 helicopters for the attack. This has prompted Ukraine to plead for Western support, including during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's recent visit to London. In addition to the military buildup in Ukraine, tensions are also rising between Russia and the European Union on the border with Kaliningrad. Poland is constructing an electronic fence along its border with Kaliningrad Oblast, as it fears that Russia and Belarus will help migrants cross the border in an attempt to destabilize Europe. The 200-kilometers barrier, which is set to begin construction in March, will include a system of cameras and detectors. The Polish border guard spokeswoman, Anna Mikulska, said that the border guards will be able to control the border, and the detecting systems will send alerts that will allow the guards to react to actual attempts of crossing the borders by humans. It's time to wrap up, and as tensions between Russia and the West continue to rise, the prospect of a nuclear war becomes increasingly unsettling. The potential consequences of such a conflict would be catastrophic, not just for the countries directly involved, but for the entire world. It is vital that world leaders prioritize diplomacy and peaceful resolution of conflicts to avoid the devastating outcome of a nuclear war. We must all work towards a world free of nuclear weapons and ensure that our leaders make the right choices to prevent the worst-case scenario from becoming reality. Thank you for watching, and make sure to leave a subscribe to stay updated on news regarding the war in Ukraine.